Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It's Monday, 13th of July. I'm Peter Martin, Barry Ferguson, Alison McConnell here with me. In July, of course, everybody, as we've been in, 14, 15 weeks of lockdown, needs a wee break. I think Roughie, once he posted the first picture of himself outside a pub, socially distancing, of course, but downing a pint of lager, I knew there was trouble ahead. So, will we see him back in time for August? I really hope so. We've got lots to talk about on the show today. We'll hear from Brendan Rodgers. We'll also hear from Joe Miller, and what a tale it is for Joe, who thought he wasn't actually going to see 2020. Such was the severity of his illness, and that really is something not to miss. Joe Miller in a one-to-one. He also gives us his thoughts on Lee Griffiths. We'll be discussing him, as well as Hearts, Hibs, Rangers, Dundee United. So much to discuss, and of course you as well. Of course, can give us your thoughts on Facebook, like, share and follow us, and on YouTube you can subscribe and it costs you absolutely nothing. So suddenly Lee Griffiths is at the heart of the news once again. Barry Ferguson, this time left behind with Celtic concentrating on some friendlies in France. Lee Griffiths come back. The story suggests that he was overweight, not fit enough, and has been training back at Lennoxtown on his own.
Yeah, it was a surprise. Listen, I thought since the turn of the year, when Neil Lennon certainly started playing more often, 3-5-2, I thought he was getting back to his old self, and obviously with the COVID-19 hitting, everybody's been kind of shacked up in their houses, and obviously Lee's not at the levels of fitness that Neil Lennon wants, and he's been told to stay behind. It shows you that Lenny's no mucking about this season, and Lee's got to basically get himself fitter. So I think it may be a kick up the backside for Lee, but I still think he'll have a massive part to play next season. Peter, when you get him up to scratch, and when his fitness levels are at an all-time high, he is a very good player, no doubt about that, and he's a very good goal scorer. So Lenny's obviously shown that he's not going to accept people being at the levels that he expects, and obviously Lee's paid for that by staying behind when the team are away to France.
He's turning into the cat with 9 lives. For me, Alison, you're in a situation where the club have stood by him through that difficult period with his mental health problems. The manager certainly backed him because he can relate to that. The fans have certainly shown their solidarity. Do you not think it's about time that Lee realised it's a two-way street?
I think he's a hugely popular figure. I think he's a very popular figure within the Celtic support. I think he's been popular amongst his teammates. I think he does a lot of things off the field for fans and turning up, and I think it bought him quite a lot of credit because of that. But successive managers have had the same issue with Lee, and it's not just been at Celtic, it's been the pattern of his career of playing well and scoring goals, and then a message of defiance from him that he can prove his doubters wrong, and been on form for a while, and then there's a dip, and it goes in a cycle. I think there comes a time when you have to realise that the clock is ticking, and I think he'll be 30 in August, and I think he's a boy whose talent has never been in question. What he has to realise now is that he doesn't want to get to the end of his career and have question marks over what he could have done or who he could have been, because the platform is there for him and there is still time. But he has to wake up, and he has to knuckle down and do the hard yards, really, when there are no fans and when there is no adulation that's coming his way.
Edouard, Klimala, Bayo's in there as well, Barry. I think Celtic will look to try and recruit another striker over and above having Griffiths there, just to put the pressure on, because I don't think you can get to a situation in this season of all seasons when suddenly one of what would have been the main striker of Edouard, you don't know whether he's 100%, just concentrated on what's ahead and what's at stake.
Yeah, but I'm sure the manager will be looking at it closely, be leaving him behind and seeing what sort of reaction he gets with his attitude. Now, Peter, I go back to it. I think obviously Lee's had his problems and Celtic have stood by him. And Lee came through that. And for me, when he was playing at the turn of the year, when they come back for the winter break, I thought him and Edward up front were on fire at times. So, look, I'm looking at it as well for Scotland point of view. We want a fit Lee Griffiths. We want a Lee Griffiths that's firing on all cylinders, because I really do think when he is fit, Peter, he is a top striker. He's a natural goal scorer. So Lenny will be looking at it closely to see what his reaction is, but I don't think Lenny will get much time if he doesn't get the right reaction. I agree with you. I think Celtic will go out and try and get somebody else. But for me, he is still a top player. He does cause issues at times. That's kind of Lee for you. But as I says, he is the best striker in Scotland for me. There's no doubt about it when he's on fire.
One of the things that's going on in the background with lots of clubs, Ali, is that Celtic are just slowly but surely starting to put out players who haven't really got a future. I would suggest, I'm not being too harsh on Jack Henry. I think if he's going to Belgium to Ostend, then he knows his days are numbered at Celtic. It looks as if there's a loan deal there. They're just starting to trim down that squad. If they are going to bring people in, they don't want, dead weight, dead wood in there that have no chance of playing this season.
I don't think it makes sense for anyone when you have a bloated squad. I think there's maybe a specific number where it works well, where you know there's a pathway to the first team and you increase the competition within your squad. I think the writing has been on the wall for Jack for a while. I think everyone would wish him well, but it's in his best interest now to go out and to play and get first team football. I think he's not going to be part of the first team picture at Celtic, so it makes sense now for him to go and look elsewhere. And I think there might be a few others who come into that category too. We've not seen the window heat up yet, largely because I think you have to wait until the campaign finishes in England and the market will start to gather speed. But I would expect there'll be a few going out, and I would still anticipate there's at least 2 or 3 that will come in.
The messages that are coming in on YouTube, Kevin McFarlane says Hibs could take him on loan to keep him fit for 6 months. I think Hibs would bite the hand off if there was even a sniff of Lee Griffiths available. He's never too far away from their thoughts. Also, Martin Thompson says Lee's a great player, but he needs to look at his attitude. He needs to buck up his ideas. I'm a big fan of his. I think William Gibson says, Peter, this will be his last chance after what they did for him last season. I think that's the general consensus from a number of people on Lee Griffiths. As far as the Celtic getting ready for the new season ahead, never mind the league title, of course, there's Champions League qualifiers. Hard to believe, Alison, they'll play 4 Champions League qualifiers. Look for all 4.
Sorry, Peter, I just lost you there. If you wouldn't mind coming in with that again, I didn't hear you.
I was just saying, you never mind playing 4 qualifiers in the Champions League. It looks, the one bright spot for Celtic is it looks as if they'll be seeded for all 4 qualifiers.
Yeah, it's good news, but it's still a very daunting pathway, I think, to get through all 4 qualifiers and actually make it into the Champions League. It is very challenging. It's a robust qualification phase. We've discussed the merits and the fact that Scottish clubs have to jump through so many hoops just to get there before, but it's by no means easy. I think being seeded definitely facilitates the journey, but to actually get into the Champions League, I think it almost feels like winning a trophy in itself, such as the arduous nature of getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just shows you, Alison, how he's got a razor eye on this. That they're just looking and checking out the books in the background there. And also, somebody says, I see Alison's got a Celtic book behind her. Yeah, she's a journalist. She's actually got lots of different books from lots of different. Book. Yes, absolutely. But Ali, they're all detectives on here. As soon as you look at that's why Barry's got a plant pot behind him. He's staying at the moment. We haven't seen Barry's man cave yet, but never mind. Dermot says, hi, Peter, from sunny Girvan, down the water. Can you say hi to Alison for me, please? Not quite sure if you know anybody from Girvan. who is called Dermot, but nevertheless, he just wants to say hi to you. It's always good to get a fan club early on. I thought I'd give you the pros and the negatives there, Ali. Also, lots of people is on Facebook as well, offering their comments. So great to have your support. We do indeed value your support on Facebook and YouTube. Barry, I'm looking at the Hibs situation. I still think I'm in the right on this one. I had a ding-dong with Tam McManus on Friday, and I'm sticking by what I said. You know, you can't sign 3 players and suddenly think you're going to get off scot-free with, redundancies going on, the possibility of not giving the players appearance fees or indeed win bonuses. I think Hibs are now skating that fine line where a lot of people are going, oh, wait a minute. And only in the last 24 hours, we've had a story that their kitman could be getting bumped as well. Now, I've known Tam McCourt forever and a day at the Huskies kitman. He's a great lad. I must admit, it was a sense of shock, I thought, if he's going as well. And it just reminded me of something, and I'm not suggesting for a minute they're going down this road full scale, but there was a point when Hearts were taken over by Vladimir Romanov, and the minute Hearts lost that family feel about their club, suddenly somebody that you knew on reception, somebody that you'd been talking to, walking the corridors forever and a day, was gone. The family feel was gone. They were replaced by people who had no sense of what Hearts were all about. And for that dark period for me, I thought Hearts lost their family feel. And I sense, I'm not saying Tam McCourt is irreplaceable, but he was one of those guys. If I was trackside for Sky Sports, he wouldn't tell you the team. He wouldn't show any lack of loyalty. He'd just say, "Hi, how are you doing?" You wouldn't cross the line with him and expect him to relay any secrets to you. He was a kit man. He loved it. If you're starting to make 70 people redundant in the background and you're still signing players, I think it sends out the wrong message.
It does. First of all, I enjoyed that ding dong with you and Tam on Friday. It was good to listen to it. But I'm with you, Peter. I was in a bit of a shock when I seen that kitman. That kitman was about when I was playing, and he was always he made you feel more than welcome when you walked in. He always had a quick chat with you. So they have got to be careful, obviously, bringing 3 players in and spending a bit of money. These guys are so important, Peter. The staff behind the scenes. I says that on Friday. They've got to be careful for what they do. But listen, at the end of the day, they've got decisions to make. But I was with you. I was in shock because that guy's been about there, Tam. He's been about there for years. He's well respected throughout the game as well, Peter, as you just mentioned when you were at trackside. He always had a chat with you, and as I said, he always made me feel more than welcome when I turned up at Easter Road. So they have got to be careful with bringing players in. But I feel for the people behind the scenes who are going to be losing their jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. There is that fine balancing act, Alison, that I think is going to be very difficult to sell. Eventually, and I think this is the case with any story that comes about, eventually, if you start winning 1 and 2 and 3 games, suddenly the bad news story gets lost. But the people who have lost their jobs still don't have a job at the end of it.
It's a very fragile balancing act, I think. Players, I think, always gravitate to new blood coming into the squad. Fans love it this time of the year, seeing who you're going to sign and can you improve the team. And if there's an elevation in your league status, there's money that comes into the club because of it. But I do think it's very fragile when you are publicly coming out and saying, we are financially impoverished here. We are pleading for your support for season ticket books. We are asking players to take wage cuts and wage deferrals over a period of a few months. I think once you then start introducing players, I think you're entitled as a player or as a fan to ask questions about how it's been funded and what the impact is that on you as an individual. I think the balancing of it is very, very fragile.
Yeah, absolutely. And lots of people, James Thompson says, I'm a Hibbie. Tam McCourt has been a long servant to the club. And if it's true, it's a disgrace. Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, and a few Hibbies have said, Hibs have never said that they are making people redundant. They are in the background. They've already discussed the whole possibility of players being redundant, staff being redundant in this one. So it is a fine balancing act, but and Tam is not the what I'm saying is the be all and end all of this story. He's just one of a number of people who all provide a valuable service, and you don't like to see them lose their jobs. But when you start to see 2 or 3 players coming in, you say you can't plead, poverty and start saying to players they're not getting bonuses, and then start laying off people who've been servants in the background, the staff who are equally as important, and then suddenly you sign players. It is a hard balancing act to try and get this right, and we don't want to see anybody lose their jobs. It's really, really difficult to do. Now, across the city in the West End, Hibs might be laying off people, but Hearts say they won't appoint a sporting director, and that's the reason for that, quite simply, Barry, is they're not going to spend money on it. It's time to just say we can do without a sporting director. You're the manager, you get on with it at the moment.
Yeah, I'm sure they've said this to Robbie, and I think Robbie would be more than comfy. I know he worked with a sporting director up at Dundee United and Tony Ashgard, but I'm sure that Anne's touched base with Robbie on it, and I'm sure he's more than confident to go it alone and go and identify his own players that he wants to sign and bring into Hearts to make them even stronger. So I see that it has got its good points, a sporting director, but also it's got its bad points for me, Peter. There's got to be a good relationship between the manager and the sporting director. And listen, it looks if Hearts are going to save a few quid, because let's be honest, it would cost a bit of money to get a sporting director in. They wouldn't be on a small salary, they would be on a decent salary. So that would obviously go into Robbie's budget, and he can maybe spend even that salary on a player this season.
Yeah, and your old mate Lee looks as if he could be the assistant to Robbie Neilson. Suddenly Lee's got more friends than just you, Barry.
I've seen it. Like Lee, listen, I spoke to Lee plenty of times and worked with Robbie, and he certainly enjoyed himself up at Dundee United. I think the time he had at Kilmarnock left a bitter taste. He took a bit of time out, but he got his love back for the game up at Dundee United, and I'm not surprised he's going to follow Robbie. It looks that way anyway, and when I've spoke to Lee about it, he says he's thoroughly enjoyed his time working under him.
Yeah, he's a good lad. You know him like I do. I think he's got a lot to offer the game when you think of his international career, the experience he's had down south as well. Similar path to yourself as well. I think he's got so much to offer. And I think he'll be a really good ally for Robbie Neilson in that dugout.
Yeah, listen, I totally agree with you. Lee's pretty straight talking as well. He's got I think he enjoys the side where he's on the pitch constantly, coaching. That's the side that we all love doing. He had his shot, as I says, at management. It ended, as I says, with probably a bit of taste in his mouth. But again, Peter, it's about enjoying yourself and being happy, and I know that he was happy up at Dundee United. Obviously, Robbie's left and went to Hearts, and it looks if Lee's going to follow him. So I've not spoke to him about it. I think he's away on holiday. I think he's took a break for a week or a couple just to let things settle down. But I think you'll see Lee at Tynecastle with Robbie pretty soon.
Yeah, it's great news for everyone that plays fives. It means Lee won't be there, because I have to tell you, he's a pain in the butt. But he just looks for me on the ball, and because of old Motherwell days, he's absolutely trying to dig me right, left and centre. You know, he's got that kind of a wee bit of needle in him, just like you, Ferguson, to be perfectly honest with you. But he's a wee bit more, he wears those boots that when he puts his toe on you, Ali, it hurts. That's all I'm saying to you, you know. Anyway,
because you're lazy. That's why you just sit in the middle of the park and let everybody else do their runner. That's what he's like, Alison.
No, because
believe me.
No, because he's McCulloch's 4 stone lighter than me, and he can close me down quickly. That's why he does it. It's a simple story. I laughed heartily, and by the way, Celtic fans have been all over it, Alison. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, there are some stories, and I'm not questioning the journalists who write for the newspapers, Ali, because I know that gets your back up when you think I'm taking a baseball bat to some stories. But Steven Gerrard to Bristol City, I mean, come on, away and give me peace. I mean, there's more chance of me, you and Barry forming a trio down at Bristol City than Steven Gerrard going there.
This is what happens, though, isn't it? I think whenever there are vacancies, you're going to have links with other clubs. I think it's just part and parcel. It goes with it. I think you accept that, you take it as a compliment, and you move on. But listen, I don't think there's any question that almost what you do in a domestic sense in Scotland south of the border is secondary to whatever you do in European football. And I think his stock will be high because of what he done in the Europa League last year with Rangers. If he continues that trajectory over the course of this campaign, I think you will see him linked with other jobs too.
Yeah, but not Bristol City, Barry. I think there's a whole host of people, I think, and I take Ali's point on it, there's a whole host of people watching and almost willing him to do well. But I still think he faces the same trapdoor that John Barnes faced all those years ago. He has to win something.
Yeah, but if you're going in terms of Bristol City and Rangers, Peter, there's no comparison in terms of size. So I wouldn't even think he would consider going down to Bristol City. I know the Championship's a good league and there's a lot of money in the Championship, but for me, Rangers, it's a no-brainer for him to stay. But listen, as you said, he knows this season is massive. It's, Celtic are going for 10 in a row. It's been well documented by everybody. And also there's the Scottish Cup and the League Cup to play. So I think it's important that he settles down. He gets the players in that he needs to make them even stronger, and he gets a trophy or two through the Ibrox front door.
Yeah. Listen, still to come, we've got a one-to-one with Joe Miller. He certainly caught me in the hop. I usually always stay in touch with Joe. And then just, that moment, Barry, when you think to yourself, if something goes a month and you don't speak to someone, you think, well, I hope he's okay. And then I just sent him a text right out of the blue thinking, are you okay? And it's an interesting interview coming up with wee Joe because, when you get floored with something that seems like a flu, but a wee bit worse than that, it's before COVID kicked in. And, when you hear what he's got to say, you actually start to panic.
Yeah, I was shocked when you told me off camera that Joe was in hospital. I've been in his company a number of times, Joe. Good guy, but that shocked me, Peter. So it's a great interview to get, and I'm sure the people who watch the show will be probably shocked. We went on with Joe just before the turn of the year. So, yeah, thankfully that he's over it now and he's all good and well, and it's good to see him back to normal.
Yep, absolutely. Another man that I modelled my game on, Alison. He never tracks his runners and just stands in the middle and waits. My kind of player. I love him for that. Listen, on a sad note, I would like to say that over the weekend, you hear more and more stories, Ali, about great players of a certain generation who pass away. I'm going to get your thoughts in just a moment on a World Cup great, because certainly when I heard the news about the death of Jack Charlton, it just filled me with sadness because he was a larger-than-life character off the field, but on the field he had a record that anyone could be proud of.
Jack Charlton was born in 1935 in the northeast of England, and along with his brother Bobby, he would help change English football forever. Jack, a tall centre-half, spent his entire career at Leeds United, making over 760 appearances and winning 7 trophies. His playing highlight came with the national team, as his partnership in defence with Bobby Moore guided England to the World Cup in 1966. After retiring in 1973, he became a manager, taking charge of Middlesbrough, Sheffield Wednesday and Newcastle United. In 1986, he became the Republic of Ireland boss, leading them to Euro 88, their first ever World Cup at Italia 90, where they reached the quarter-finals, and the World Cup again in the USA 4 years later. He retired in 1996 and died on Friday, aged 85, with the footballing world paying their respects over the weekend.
Well, of all the tributes, Alison, to Jack Charlton, one that really absolutely caught me was the great commentator Clive Tilsley, who obviously paid his respects to him, but said to him, I was in his company at an after-dinner speech, and Jack Charlton stood up and with a glass of wine in his hand mentioned the fact that in the World Cup final, when the ball dropped to Bobby Moore and England were only 3-2 ahead, Jack, who was your uncompromising centre half, basically said to him, "Bobby, hit the ball into Rose Edge," because they're only seconds away from winning the World Cup. So Jack's attitude was, blast that ball into Rose Edge. Meanwhile, Bobby Moore, who was absolutely world class, looks up, picks a 40-yard pass to Jeff Hurst, who fires the ball into the net, and the rest, as they say, is history. And the essence of Clive Tilsley's story, which was so beautifully recounted, was, Jack Charlton realised the limitations that he had and the class that Bobby Moore had, the difference in the quality of player. Moore could hit the 40-yard pass. Jack was an uncompromising centre-half who probably didn't think he had that type of thing in his arsenal. But, he was always self-deprecating about himself as a player. But you don't play over 700 times for Leeds United if you can't play football, Ali.
Oh, he was a legend both on and off the pitch, and what he'd done in his playing career, and also obviously what he'd done in his managerial career. But I think his humility is what came across more often than not. I think I interviewed him once many years ago when I was just starting out in my career, and he was just such a breath of fresh air to speak to. He just had that real gruff kind of Yorkshire way, no airs and graces, and just very grounded. But you see the impact he had, and how well liked and well respected he is still in Ireland and still in England, and that's no mean feat in itself to put a feat in both camps there. So it just tells you just how much his achievements were recognised and appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he could walk into any pub in Ireland and have to put his hand in his pocket, Barry. Such is esteem and regard he's held over there for what he achieved. I mean, I'm talking 2 World Cups and leading them to 3 European Championships.
Yeah, just when it came up there, Italia 90 and USA 94, they were World Cups where I was at an age where I was getting really into football, Peter, and some of the players he had in that team were really good. But the big thing that struck me with that team, it was the team spirit they had. They never had probably what you would say world-class players, but they had very good players, and he was a type of man. He was a good man manager. You hear people talking about him. But that was a very good team that he had at both of the World Cups.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to turn it into a kind of a morbid show, but I always like to pay tribute to great footballers of the past. Wim Surbier passed away as well, who was really a top-drawer player for Ajax. 13 years spent in the Netherlands. He won 3 European Cups with Ajax, played in what was truly the best Ajax side of the 70s alongside Johan Cruyff. It was absolutely magnificent. And when you look at I was trying to look at some of the things that he'd won along the way. Every domestic cup, 7 times.
What was the guy doing in the background of that 40? Did you see him?
No, I'm going to have a look.
Well, look at him.
Yeah, I think he just only you can spot that, Barry. I think he just nutmegged him, but he was absolutely top drawer. 7 titles.
That's like you after. Yeah, that was like Peter when we played at Murrayfield. After 10-15 minutes, he was knackered.
Well, still, I got to 10 minutes. Wim Surbier sadly passed away. And one other person I'm going to mention, for the older people who remember the great Motherwell side, he was part of the Ansell Babes in the 50s. Pat Quinn, who passed away sadly at 84. He also played with great distinction over 200 times for Hibernian as well, and he was a great player for them. An inside forward, which is... obviously of a certain age that I would love to see what the inside forward role would be in today's game. I'm sure somebody will enlighten me of it, but he scored goals aplenty and he was revered at Fir Park and Easter Road as well. So sadly, at 84 years of age, he passed away, and our thoughts and prayers to all the family members and friends of the players that we've mentioned, because that's what this programme is about. It's about loving football, remembering players, and talking about the incidents and stories that emerge over today and every day, Monday to Friday, if you join us 4 o'clock. And look out, because we've got a great competition coming up. We've got some fantastic competitions coming up, and it involves you, if you're out in the cities across Scotland, spotting our Well, all I'm saying is spotting something to do with the show. And if you do spot it, you can send us a photograph and you've got a chance of winning yourself not only T-shirts are plenty, but we're giving away an iPad and a few other goodies along the way. And we'll get Barry to sign a few as well. And you could basically pick up some fantastic prizes coming up in the next couple of weeks as we get ready for the season. So look out for that. Dundee United, Cove and Wraith, £45,000, Ali, in the kitty from the money they've raised basically through crowdfunding to help them with this legal case. And I think this week we should get some kind of resolution.
It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The fact that they're having to go and put the begging bowl out and ask for finances to get them through it's an appalling state of how badly mismanaged the whole affair was from start to where we are now. But you're right, the clock's ticking. We're less than 3 weeks away from kick-off. We need to know exactly what's happening. Quite interesting across in other countries across Europe this week about other people going to court for similar reasons and it being kicked out again. But I just think it's symptomatic of how badly handled the whole affair was.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get hopefully some kind of resolution. It's not a resolution which will involve any kind of prospect of Kelty or Brora coming into the equation, Barry, which again is another injustice in this whole affair. But I have to say, Barry, and we always like to give a little mention to the lower leagues because of your involvement in it. But boy, when I could see the social media video coming in of your latest signing, I'm thinking, oh, that East Kilbride have stung him into action. Callum Higgins, hey, you've got the money there, boy. You're making a right go of this.
No, listen, we're going quietly about our business, Peter. I've been in talks for about a week or 10 days with Callum, and you know what? It's kind of working in our favour. Callum was getting to a stage where he was thinking what he was going to do after football, and he's found himself a job outside it with his father-in-law. So I had a chat with him, and he was really keen on doing it. This is his first time going into the part-time environment, but he kind of knew he knows quite a number of players we've got, and I spoke to him 2 or 3 times, and we were glad to get a deal done. He's the type of guy I want, Peter. He's got a steely determination. He still wants to be successful. What I don't want is people coming in and just seeing out the last year or two of his career. He was adamant that he wanted to come to Kelty and trying to achieve things. So, no, delighted to get that one over the line. There was 3 or 4 chasing him. And listen, he brings a hell of a lot of experience in. He's played at a good level all his career. And as I said, he's got to come in with the right attitude. And the players that I sign have got to be able to settle into the group of players I've already got there. And I'm sure Callum will do that no problem. And hopefully over the coming days, we'll see another 2 or 3 signings coming in.
Yeah, well, we had Callum on the show, and I think you've pulled a master stroke there. I think he's a great player, great lad as well. I think he'll score goals for you. I'll tell you one thing, Ali. It might be a good idea for you and I just maybe to get a press pass ahead of time for East Kilbride versus Kelty. It's going to be an absolute belt because it's going to be like a who's who of former professional footballers at the top level, all pulling on the EK and the Kelty strip. It's going to be a cracking game.
Just up the road from me too. But I think it might attract quite a bit of interest, that one.
Yeah, absolutely it will. I'm looking forward to it. The amount of players and quality players that are going into that Lowland League as well just shows you the ambition, and that's what we want. Ambition. If there is a pyramid system, give them the pathway. But if there's ambition there, and you clubs who are going to put money into good grounds, good facilities, have that professional attitude, and the level of player that fans want to pay and see, then we're all for it. The other thing I was going to draw to your attention, guys, is something taking place over the last few hours. And again, the one thing we'll never mention on this show is the phrase sporting integrity, because I'm not quite sure it exists anymore. But Manchester City, their ban overturned. What a shock. Man City will be back in the Champions League, Alison. When that came out, a few people raised their eyebrow and thought, aye.
Makes a mockery of the rules that are there, doesn't it? what's the point in having them? They're not going to be enforced. I don't think there was any great surprise about it. I think most of us would have expected it. It felt inevitable, and it's about making sure that the big clubs are still there and still involved. But why set the rules? Why set the parameters, and then just allow them to dissipate when they're challenged?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the silly stage now, Barry, where, big companies, big clubs with individual billionaires owning them suddenly start pulling out, sponsorship deals for training centres, sponsorship deals that far exceed anything a normal blue chip company would sponsor, just so that it all goes into a kitty in the bottom line to give them powers beyond anybody else's wealth to sign whoever they want. I mean, it almost laughable. I mean, they've made the ruling, and Man City will plead the case, but it won't convince us all that this is how to actually beat the system. Everybody can do it now.
Yeah, Alison's spot on. It's pointless having rules, Peter. They don't count for nothing. It means that they're allowed to go out and overspend, which the rules clearly state that you're not meant to do. So I'm with Alison in that one. What's the point of having rules when Man City are allowed to come back into the tournament? Don't get us wrong, I love watching Man City, Peter. They're obviously backed with billionaires. They're a great team to watch. They've got fantastic players. And I'm sure now you'll see Pep Guardiola staying, because I think if it went against him, you could have seen maybe him going elsewhere. So I'm sure the players and the fans will be delighted at the ruling.
Yeah, Stephen Smith says money talks. It's as simple as that. Absolutely. If you get lots of money, you don't need to abide by the rules. Simple as that. Alec Kelly joins us a little bit late in the show, Alec, and I might as well. Obviously, I know you're a big Rangers fan and you always look for conspiracy theories or anything that can compromise anyone. So Alex says, Alison showing her colours today over her right shoulder. We mentioned it at the top of the programme. It's a reference. It's a reference book, Alec, and there are about 19 other references all along the top of her bookcase there. So as long as there's not 50 Shades of Grey, I'll be happy. It's as simple as that. It's all.
That's Roughie's. That's Roughie's bookshelf.
If it is, you're in big trouble with your parents and your upbringing, Ali. That's all I'm telling you. But anyway, apart from anything else, Alec Kelly, calm down. It's amazing. People actually look and study with a fine-tooth comb anything you've got. I mean, Barry, I can't even have an Helsingborg Larson top up here without people going mental. It's just unbelievable. Honestly, you can't have an innocent
Yeah, I was just looking at the back of me. I might need to change the colour of my green plant. I might need to get a blue plant in case people start talking.
I'll try and get a bluebell for you. See, just anyway, apart from this, I'll get your top out here, Baz, and get it up for Wednesday, just to annoy the life.
Yep. You better bring it out the cupboard, because I know that room's fully certain players.
Oh, listen. As you well know, by the way, I have a Rangers room because there's members of the family who are Rangers fans, so we've got to keep them happy.
It's in the cupboard. That's what your room is. The Rangers room's in a cupboard.
It's a darkened room with no bulb. So if you want to find your way to the bed, by all means, on you go. Anyway, apart from anything else, I noticed that Lyle Taylor story doing the rounds, Ali. I mean, that'll be his agent just trying to pump him out to about 8 or 9 or 10 clubs. You know, Celtic and Rangers are interested as well. Lyle Taylor's 30. Good lad. Had him on the programme. Not quite sure he's good enough for Celtic and Rangers. No harm to him.
I would agree. I also think at the age he is, I think what tends to happen at this time of year is that agents are onto clubs and offering players round about. It's not always quite as cut and dried as the club expressing an interest in the player, but rather the agent maybe just suggesting the player to the club. And you'll get a ton of this now between now and the end of the transfer window. This is what we get. But I'd agree. I think at 30, it's Celtic particularly like to go for young players. They try and ensure that there's some kind of sell-on value all the time. And if there is scope there, then you're talking probably a squad player. But I think what you'll find in that situation is that his agent is just keen to make sure his name is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Over in the Spanish papers, he's been linked with Real Madrid and Barcelona as well. So just to try and keep everybody. Livingston in the transfer, just in case you missed out, they've signed Salim Kudir Aissa, 2-year deal. He's been banging in the goals, 17 goals in 36 games for Queen's Park. So that's a good move for him. I always get worried when you start to see certain players getting signed, Barry. You know, he's a good goal scorer. He's got a chance to make his name for Livingston in the Premier League. But I always think to myself, oh, they've signed a striker. Is that them getting ready for Lyndon Dykes exiting the place?
Yeah, maybe they're preparing themselves, Peter. But I always like to see players get a move for the lower divisions. It shows you that if you do produce the goods and you score goals or you play at a high standards, there is always a chance. Certainly now, I think what's happened over the last 3 or 4 months, Peter, with COVID-19, I think you will see a lot of clubs looking down the lower divisions to try and snatch a few gems, which there is. There's plenty of gems down there. I'm watching a lot of games all the time, and there's a lot of good players. So good luck to the boy, but I think it may be one of these ones where he comes in and they may look to get a bit of money in for Lyndon Dykes, because he's definitely a player, Peter, that I mentioned 2 weeks ago. I think he can go now to the next level. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I think he'll definitely go in this window.
Yeah, this window, you think he's gone?
Definitely.
Yeah. Rangers?
Yes. I think he just acquitted himself so well. I think his attitude in games, I think that gallousness he's got, I think it augurs well for him to go and play and have the character and personality to play at a top club where you've got to have that bit of swagger and that bit of self-belief.
I tell you what, Livingston deserve a lot of respect as well, because they took a chance when a lot of clubs wouldn't take a chance on London at Queen of the South, and I mean they deserve a lot of credit, Gary Holt and the coaches there, because for me, since he's come in, he's definitely improved. There's no doubt about it. You've seen it in the big games, Peter. He caused problems, especially against Celtic. So I said 2 weeks ago, I think if you got him at a decent price, it'd be crazy for Rangers not to do that kind of business, because I do think he can take the leap up and become a top player.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great signing for Rangers. And equally, Ali, I'm looking at Niall Kane, who's a regular on our programme. Niall's a Motherwell fan. He says, do you think David Turnbull will stay at Motherwell this summer or go if the money is right? Well, he'll go, Niall, if the money is right. But Alison, I wonder if David might feel a sense of loyalty to at least give it 6 months at Motherwell to see if he can get himself back to what attracted Celtic in the first place. I know there are other clubs, City and others, just hovering at the moment.
Really feel for the boy, actually. It was such a dispiriting way for the transfer to collapse last year when he was on the cusp of going to Celtic. But I would tend to think that he might just want to focus at the minute on getting fit and getting sharp and being comfortable again, playing and getting back into the swing of things. It was a long time to be out, and it was a particularly serious injury that he had. The fact that Motherwell stood by him and supported him in his rehab, I think there might be a sense of loyalty. Of course, if there is a big money bid that comes in, I think that's a different matter. I don't think he'll be actively courting it. I think he would be quite content just now to just get a season of solid football under his belt and then see where it goes. If he gets back to the level that he was playing at, I think interest is inevitable.
Yeah, the one thing I'm about to play to you now is, Alison, on this programme, we have had Brendan Rodgers as a one-to-one guest, but he's back on today to offer an apology. I know you probably are caught by surprise by this, but Brendan Rodgers offering an apology, this time to the Leicester City fans for getting battered 4-1 by Bournemouth last night.
I was more disappointed then with the reaction, because it's probably the first time, and I would say, Ian, as well, a big apology to the supporters, because if they're watching that was unacceptable for a Leicester City team. You cannot do that, and I've never been anywhere near that since we've been here. So no, it was a huge disappointment, and it was like I said, we lacked the spirit and attitude, especially when it went to 10 men.
It's amazing, Barry, but that defeat to Bournemouth and Manchester United take on Southampton tonight, I think United could actually pip them to that fourth spot.
Yeah, real chance, Peter. I actually watched the Leicester game yesterday, and at half-time, Leicester were coasting 1-0, and obviously Bournemouth made a few changes in it. They just collapsed in the second half. I mean, if you asked me at half-time, I would have said Leicester went on and won that with 2 or 3 goals. It just shows you the collapse, and you can see it in his interview. He's raging there. And I'm with you. Man United are the team that's impressed me the most, Peter, since I've come back from obviously not playing for 3 or 4 months. The difference in them is night and day, and a lot of credit's got to go to the manager. In interviews before the coronavirus happened, he's saying, "Listen, I will get this right. Just let me get players in and let them get settled, and we'll do a lot of work in the training ground." You've seen with the performances. Man United for me now look like the Man United of old. They're attractive to watch. They're good going forward. And the young boy out wide, Greenwood, he's 18-year-old, Peter. If he keeps going like this, what a player he's going to be.
Yeah, I like Johnny Mulaney, who's just sent us a message on Facebook saying, "I think Brendan Rodgers is on a shaky kneel." he's There you are. Celtic fans just will not let it go. At the moment, it's still raw, but nevertheless, I'm sure Brendan has proved that he's more than a match as a coach down south for many of the top coaches. He's doing a great job down there at Leicester, but this one could be a costly one, Ali.
I think since the turn of the year, Leicester's form's been poor, but I think it really speaks volumes for the psychology within the game and the mentality within a squad. If you look at the lead that they had in terms of going on and protecting that Champions League spot, and once it starts to slide, you can almost feel the panic running through a team. It's almost like when you're 3-0 up and you start to get pegged back and you feel the momentum swing entirely. And you just get that sense just now within the Leicester team that they've lost the belief that they needed just to go. And I have to say too, I think I wouldn't be overly surprised if they lose the Champions League spot.
Well, I know Lindsay Buchanan is far from happy. He says, "Done my coupon in, 250 quid. Oof, there's nothing worse. When you think you've got a stonewall certainty." I don't know about you, Barry, but sometimes if you've got a bet, not that I'm a betting man anyway, but sometimes you've spent the winning money in your head because you think Leicester are a stick on you.
Peter, I'm like you, I'm not a gambling man, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. There you are. Look at the smile on his face there. Brilliant, Baz. Okay. Just a couple of things I want to mention. One of them I think is pertinent and very pertinent to our social media on YouTube, where we are on Monday to Friday. And don't forget, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and, of course, Facebook, where you can, of course, get to like, share and follow us as well. Is that rather unsavoury story which a 12-year-old boy has been released, but he was arrested on the basis of some racist remarks towards Wilfried Zaha, the Crystal Palace forward. Again, it's an indication at 12 years of age making very unsavoury comments to a professional footballer. But I think the lesson there for a number of people, as well as hoping that the boy is going through an education programme as a penalty, I think the lesson, Ali, is that some people think they can throw out abuse and just get away with it. That if there's anything about the social media platform, it's that there are so many people who think they can hide behind a computer or a phone and they are beyond the law.
No question about it. I think we've all probably experienced that, obviously not to the same extent, but when I read the tweets yesterday morning, I was shocked at the severity of them, but I was even more shocked when I heard it was a 12-year-old kid who'd been arrested. Now, I have to say, I don't think criminalising a child is the way to go, and I think you have an opportunity here to try and educate and to try and explain the damage caused and really open his eyes and open his mind more than anything else to what's going on, and also about the fact that there are serious consequences when you go online and you're spouting nonsense like this, and it is just abuse. There's no question about it, but it's a sorry situation all round. I don't think we should be rejoicing either about the fact that it's a 12-year-old kid. Really, you've got to wonder, and you've got to hope that intervention is early enough to just to change his opinion on a few things. But the comments were staggering. The things that were said were shocking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sad, Peter. Peter, see, when I read it, it's just sad. Are we ever going to get rid of this?
Never.
See, when I read it, and then obviously what Alison just says there, when I seen the boy's age, man, I'm just looking and I'm thinking to myself, this is ridiculous. Sad. It's sad, but I honestly don't think we're going to get rid of it, Peter. I watched an interview with Lewis Hamilton yesterday, and he says it'll be still here after I go. But these show racism a red card, these sort of organisations, Peter, need backed and need help to try and go out and get into schools and start early and educate these young kids, because that's where it needs to start, Peter, in the schools.
Yeah,
you would hope that he would maybe go and apologise to Wilfried Zaha in person. You would hope that would be the very, very least of it. That you have to confront someone that you've said those things about, and I'm sure it's a steep learning lesson for that wee boy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Joint Response Group have released a statement. They can confirm that between Monday the 6th of July and Sunday the 12th of July, excuse me, a total of 1,055 Scottish Premiership players and team staff were tested for COVID-19 with no positive results recorded. So that's a bit of good news there. Over the weekend, we put out a poll on the greatest managers of all time. We finally come up with 10. I mean, it was an obscure result, basically because sometimes if you put a poll out on social media, it's hijacked by all and sundry to try and pick their favourite man. But all I would say to you is, out of the 10 managers that we picked, I'm going to give you them in the order I think it should have been, Ali. Thank you to everyone who voted on it. But the 10 greatest ever British managers, if you two want to add a couple that you think are worthy of being in there at the expense of another, or the order changed slightly, I've got number 1, the best ever British manager, Sir Alex Ferguson. Number 2, Bob Paisley. Number 3, Brian Clough. Number 4, Jock Stein. Number 5, Sir Matt Busby. And then the next 5, I've got Bill Shankly, Sir Bobby Robson, Sir Kenny Dalglish, Howard Kendall, and Bill Nicholson. Now, we've had the likes of Sir Alf Ramsey and George Graham thrown into the mix as worthy of being in at least a top 20, so I bow to that. If there's any that we've forgotten, speak now or forever hold your peace.
No, number 1 is Sir Alex Ferguson. There's no doubt about that. But yeah. I would kind of agree with that, Peter, that 10.
Yeah. Any order, Ali? I noticed you kind of your eyebrows to go up on a...
I think Alex Ferguson's probably your top. I would go with that. I think Jock Stein would maybe be a second. The first British man to go and win the European Cup. It kind of sets the precedent for everyone else to follow.
Yeah. You know, we're doing the show down in Liverpool next week, Ali. Are you coming down? I just want to check if you're available. That show takes place. Bob Paisley, and he's going to win 3 European Cups. Yeah, listen, it's all subjective. And of course, for me, Cloughie's got to be in there because I love him. And the fact is, you know, nobody, and I think I heard someone at the weekend saying, I think it might have been John McGovern, nobody will ever recreate a situation where you have a provincial side from the lower divisions going into the top flight of football, win it again, and and win the European Cup twice. It's just unheard of. Cloughie was an absolute genius and could have had the same success at Derby County had he not fallen out with them. But listen, it's all subjective. But I could tell right away, Ali, I was reading the face there. I look at your face when I'm reading these out to see if there's any movement on it, but it was there. Look at Barry's eyes just closing slowly but surely on that. Anyway, this is a quick a quick chat I had with Joe Miller, and Joe is a good friend, great lad, and he certainly caught me on the hop with what he faced over the last 6 months. Well, I'm delighted to say our special guest is a man who appeared regularly on our football show, a firm favourite, former Aberdeen and Celtic striker Joe Miller. Joe, first of all, great to see you fit and well. How have you coped over the last 14 or 15 weeks?
Not too bad. To be honest with you, back in December, I don't know, I never actually got it confirmed, but I actually thought, had symptoms of it, ended up in the Royal Infirmary, but at the end of the day, I'm back well, fit, getting myself back to fitness, to be honest with you, because it took its toll. It's still taking its toll a wee bit, but I am feeling well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange situation. Everybody in lockdown. You've mentioned to me that you're just getting back to walking and maybe a light jog. When you look back in December when probably nobody was aware of coronavirus, did you just get that feeling that you'd a really bad cold, or you were just one of those things that you're really sick and you needed medical attention?
Yeah, well, back then everybody thought it was, people end up in the hospital with the flu. The proper flu, not just a cold, but the proper flu where it really floors you. But this was something different, and I knew that. But it was back in December, and the coronavirus, it wasn't named COVID-19 till February, so nobody really knew what it was, and I ended up in the Royal for the best part of a week actually. So
yeah, was it worrying? Was it worrying?
Well. It was pretty frightening at one point. Pretty frightening. And through a lot of fluids and oxygen and everything else. So I know what people are going through, but I think I was lucky, to be honest with you. I think I was really lucky because I think it's mutated a bit and it gets worse as time goes on. And the symptoms that people are suffering just now seem to be far worse. But I think overall, I think Scotland and particularly Nicola Sturgeon, I think she's handled it well. The way she's got everybody to knuckle down and be sensible about this. I think it's been the right thing to do, and that's speaking from experience. Because it was really frightening at the time.
Yeah, was there a moment? I mean, lots of people hit that moment where they just feel helpless. I mean, what was the view you were having to your family, who would obviously have been concerned at the time that you weren't well in the first place?
No, as I said to you, I thought it was just a bad flu at the time. But my temperature was really high, my blood pressure was low, and I was struggling to breathe. And then, when the doctor came. That was when the time that made the decision I had to go into hospital. So, I was in there and I was in the acute assessment unit there to get assessed. But, I didn't know what it was, but I seen everything on my discharge papers the week after. And I went through I had a wee episode where things didn't go too well. And, ended up with a CAT scan and things, because these are all the symptoms that happen when you've got it, but I was trying to get everything confirmed afterwards when I came out of hospital. But I'm still no any further forward to say whether I had it or not. But I'm sure they could probably trace my blood and track all that. But this is the thing with myself. I was meeting so many people. How could you track and trace? That kind of thing. It'd be impossible. But I don't know whether I could put it into just a bad flu or the actual virus itself, but it had all the symptoms for it.
Yeah. Did you fear the worst? Was there a moment when you start to think to yourself, am I going to get through this?
Well, there was. Just about the second day when I had that episode, as I said to you, I actually, I don't know what it is they call it. They call it something where. You actually more or less collapse, and everything kind of went from me. I could feel it, and I ended up in A&E. So at that point, I knew it was deadly serious. And then when I seen my sister a couple of days later, you know what I mean, I was fearing the worst at one point. But
Yeah.
you know, I kind of pulled through. I don't think it matters how fit you are or what you've done. You know, people say I was relatively fit and I do this and I do that. It doesn't matter. I've seen young guys. You're talking about young football players just now getting it. You know, that the training ground's been tested positive for it, but maybe no showing the symptoms. But I had everything. You know, I got everything done. But credit to the Royal Infirmary. The people in there looked after us fantastically well.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. I mean, you're obviously taking it easy, a slow process back to try and get some sort of fitness now.
Aye, well, this is the thing. It was back in December, and you know, people saying this was January, February time, and this all happened. But you know, I've spoke to a lot of people, and they're saying it's been here since last August. And there's been various people, whether it's been the flu or the flu-like symptoms and things like that. But I hadn't experienced anything like that in my life before. But I'm glad I'm back, slowly getting back on. But it's took a while. I know fine well. Even try to normally go out for even a jog, I couldn't do it. I've just been general walks just now to get myself out in the fresh air and getting the lungs opened up a wee bit, because that's where I've been feeling it.
Yeah, well, I, for one, I'm glad you're getting back to some kind of normality, Joe. It'll be difficult for me to track whether you're back to full fitness because you never track your runners or cover anybody at the five-a-sides anyway.
Yeah, my lungs were always blown anyway, Peter, so it didn't make any difference. People wouldn't think there was anything wrong with me anyway if I turned up at the five. You still stood in the one spot.
Absolutely. I've modelled my entire game on you. Listen,
well,
the good thing is
let everybody else do your running.
Absolutely. Listen, the good thing about it is we can laugh and we can have a banter about it, because that's dressing room humour for you. What have you made of it so far, Joe? I mean, everybody's obviously keen, and Scotland seems to be following a line which, you know, we always say one death is too many, but if we can get ourselves completely under control, following the rules which the First Minister and the government relay to us on a daily basis, we want to get back seeing football. Do you think we're a wee bit overly optimistic about getting any great number of fans in this year?
No, I think there's the two ways. I mean, you can see how anxious people are to see the football. But I mean, nobody likes being locked up in their homes, and you know, their whole life's been turned upside down, and all their hobbies, and even going to their football and looking forward to that on a Saturday, that's all been taken away from. So everybody's itching to get back. But I can see the sense in what the government's doing, and as I said to you earlier, I think Nicola Sturgeon's played an absolute blinder here. You know, compared to a lot of people who are saying down south, I think she's handled it fantastically well. She's not getting the credit that she deserves, but the governing bodies have just got to follow the rules that she lays out, and I think she's doing the sensible thing. Just gradually easing into things, because you know, I think slowly but surely we'll get there, and if the fans get in there into the stadiums gradually when the season gets underway, I think that's a bonus, because I think, you know, looking back a couple of months ago, I think we weren't looking to see any football to next year. So hopefully we can start seeing a gradual build-up of the fans getting back in once the season is underway, and then start to see full stadiums. I'm not expecting to see a full stadium this season. I think there'll be still sections all kind of shut off in a way. I don't think we'll see capacity stadiums.
Yeah, can't see 30,000 for the Old Firm game, can you?
I don't know. You know, whether away fans in total maybe not be going to the might be an option. You know, maybe not allowing away fans in.
It's a strange thing, because I mentioned that because Celtic are hoping that they can somehow socially distance, you know, to the extent that they might get 30,000 in. But I just think it's being overly optimistic.
I think it is as well, because you're still if you're going to keep the social distancing, and you know, I mean, there's going to be, it's within a couple of seats, and then there's another supporter there. But you're still going to come into contact with people, and people entering the stadium and leaving the stadium, transport, everything. You've got to think of all these things, you know. And if anything ever happens, the worst case scenario, if anything ever happens. So, no, I think it's a difficult one, and I think they'll gradually ease it in sections, I think. But, you know, I don't anticipate seeing a capacity stadium this season at all.
Yeah, Joe, you were involved in two squads that were certainly up to hijinks. They had individuals that liked to laugh or two in Aberdeen and at Celtic as well. But you know, for any misdemeanours, there was always a penalty. What do you make of the current man in Lee Griffiths? He's been, as reports suggest, left behind at Lennox Town. He won't be in the French friendlies that Celtic have organised. Maybe the suggestion is that he's not fully at a weight that you would consider fit enough to be taking part in games. He seems like the cat with 9 lives in this situation.
Yeah, I know, it's, you know, after what's happened over the last season, you know, and it took a while to get him back into this side, you know, because he had these off other problems. You think he would have maybe worked a wee bit harder over the summer to get fit. So I find that really hard to believe. But at the same time, everybody's going to be disappointed in this. The Celtic fans will be disappointed. The manager will be disappointed, and Lee Griffin himself will be disappointed. He's let everybody down, and he's let the team down, if that's the case. But it's down to him now. This is his chance. I mean, there are a lot of people saying, you know, he's a cat with 9 lives, as you say, but at the same time, I think Lee's really got to knuckle down, and he can do it for himself. He's a fabulous player, and you know, as a squad player, you could rely on him coming on and doing something. I don't think there's any player at Celtic Park just now that's a threat to him, really, when he's on song. But he struck a good partnership up with Edouard when he came back into the side there. He bagged a few goals, and the fans were starting to appreciate him again. So this is who he's got to win over. But more importantly, I think he's got to do it for himself. I think he's got to knuckle down. He's at 29, 30 now, and I think he's at the prime of his career where he's got to say, right, where's my next contract? I'd like to stay at this club for the next 3 or 4 years, and I need to prove myself. I think this is what he's got to really do, and somebody's either got to have a word in his ear. And I know he's probably that type of player where Neil Lennon could probably put his arms around him at times, but I think he's the type of player that somebody needs to sit him down and say, listen, you know, he needs a kick up the backside and really go for this, because it's an important year for Celtic Football Club, the fans and everybody. They want to do that 10 in a row, and they also want to win the remainder of the last season, where there's a cup final, Scottish Cup final, a semi-final and final. So there's that to play for. But, you know, he'll be saying he's let everybody down. So it might be a kick up the backside, leaving him behind. But I hope for his sake that he gets on that training and gets back to fitness, and, you know, loses some weight, addresses his diet, whatever it is. Somebody work with him, because it's a professional club. I'm sure that Celtic will do that. But
yeah,
I think Neil Lennon needs a fit and healthy Lee Griffiths, because he can change a game. He's an important player to Celtic at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Celtic have stood by him through the mental health issues. The manager says he still has a future. Do you think he's in the last chance saloon?
No, I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think it's just, you know, there will be a lot of people reading into it, saying it'll be a chance, you know, and but we all know how quickly the trigger could get pulled, and, you know, everybody could be proved wrong. But at the same time, I think he's too good a player. He's an asset to Celtic. He's a danger to other teams, the opposition. And you would want a fit Lee Griffiths in your side, even in your squad, even if he's coming off the bench and doing something when he was half fit. You want him there, but he needs to get that sorted out, and nobody can do it by Lee Griffiths. Probably Neil Lennon's probably had a word with him, put his arm round him, says, you're still in my plans, so you'll need to prove it to me. and he's got to do that. So maybe this is a kick
Joe,
up the backside he needs.
Yeah, Joe, one final question before you go, and again, it's you'll be looking at the overview of how everybody's preparing, who they're signing, what they're doing, what their hopes are for the new season, whether it's behind closed doors or not. 10 in a row is obviously crucial to Celtic. Can you see anyone stopping them? And also, what about your old side, Aberdeen? Motherwell are certainly a club that thwarted them in finishing third last season. How do you see them faring as well?
I think that overall, I don't see anybody stopping Celtic again, to be honest. If you're having a bet and there's a horse in front, Celtic's like a juggernaut just now, season after season, and they've won the treble. They're hard to look past, and look for what's happened with this coronavirus and the shutdown and everything else. It's actually, and teams are going to be playing behind closed doors. It's going to affect the finances. So the finances that clubs have, they're not going to be signing the players that maybe could change things for them, could change their season, can sign a good player that's maybe going to change. I think Rangers and all these teams are all going to struggle signing good players or re-signing players because the finances are not going to be there. It's hit Scottish football really badly, and it's something that they might never recover from. Pray to God there's just no another shutdown and that's stopped, because I'm sure a lot of Premier clubs will struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, as ever, it's always a joy to talk to you. I'm absolutely glad in 2020 that we got the chance to talk to you in the first place, because the fact that you're fit and well means I don't have to send back your 1988 centenary shorts to you, so that's good news.
I get it.
Yeah, I don't
One
even,
thing
but I wouldn't.
I lost a lot of weight off me, so did.
Well, listen, I'm just glad you're here. Joe, as ever, always great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us. I'll tell you one thing, Barry, that is a worry. When you get to that point where he's talking to his sister and thinking, once you get to that moment, you're in the hospital and you think, this is touch and go. That was a real worry for him. Great to see him coming through that.
Yeah, scary, Peter. Scary in December, and then we're mentioning that you get told that it's been here since August. So, no, it must have been a scary couple of months for Joe, but as I said at the start of the show, good to see that he's come through it and he's starting to get back to a bit of normality. We're getting out a walk and a jog. But it was scary to listen to that. And as I said, just thankful that he's all good and well now.
Yeah, absolutely. Our best wishes to him. Just before we go, guys, Man United, Southampton. Give us your prediction, Ali.
Man United. And they've got an incentive there now after Leicester's result last night.
Yep. It's a body blow, that result, as Ali mentioned there, for Brendan Rodgers. But he's got to try and fight for that place. He's still got to face Man United. Barry, how do you see this one going tonight?
Well, Man United, full of confidence, Peter. I can't see past them. As I says, I've been really impressed since I've come back from the shutdown there. And I think they will put them for the fourth position, because as you said, they've still got to play each other. And it's all, what it's like, how football works. A confident team always seems to be a winning team.
I like the last word there. I'm going to leave the last word. I don't often leave it to Alec Kelly, who's a regular watcher of the show, but he's just posted on Facebook, Shockeroony, former Celtic player tips Celtic to win the league.
I'm glad Alex said that.
So to keep Alex happy, Barry, tip Rangers to win the league, will you?
Now, listen, I'm quietly confident. That's what I'll say.
Absolutely. Just listen, when you walk into our studio with your chest puffed out and a big smile, I know Rangers are top of the league. It's as simple as that. Anyway, Alec, as ever, sometimes you are bordering on lunacy, but today you got me smiling. Thank you very much for that post. Always good to hear from you. And lots of people join us on our Facebook, like, share and follow if you can. And over and above that, on our YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. It costs you nothing. We're on Periscope. We're on at PLZ Soccer on Twitter as well. You'll get an opinion. You'll get special guests aplenty from all clubs across the entire country, Monday to Friday. Thank you for making us Scotland's #1 football show. And lots of different pundits will be joining us and lots of special guests all the way through to the start of the season and beyond. Hopefully, you'll be part of the growing football family. Stay tuned for the details coming up this week on how you can win yourself some fabulous prizes. But from Ali and from Barry and from myself, Peter Martin, thank you very much for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit Arnold